My boyfriend cheated on me with the girl you don't have to worry about. We've been together for 5 years. I still remember the first time I saw him. We were both fresh-faced undergraduates, new to the city and wide-eyed with the possibilities of university life. He stood out, not because of his looks, though he was handsome in a casual, boy-next-door way, but because of his warmth. It radiated from him like sunlight, pulling people into his orbit. We were both attending a friend's birthday party, one of those chaotic, crowded affairs where everyone is a little too loud and a little too happy. Amidst the noise and laughter, he found me. He smiled, a slow, genuine smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes, and introduced himself. I was smitten. That night, we talked for hours, lost in conversation as the party raged on around us. He was studying engineering. I was majoring in literature. We joked about our future arguments over art and science, him the pragmatic thinker, me the dreamer. There was an instant connection, a spark that felt undeniable. By the time we said goodbye, exchanging numbers with a promise to meet again, I knew this was the beginning of something special. Our relationship blossomed quickly. We spent our days wrapped up in each other, exploring the city, discovering new restaurants, studying together in the library. There was an easy intimacy between us, a sense of understanding that felt rare and precious. I loved the way he made me laugh, the way he could be both serious and silly, the way he listened to me as if my words were the most important thing in the world. By the time we graduated, we were inseparable. We found a small apartment together, a cozy little place with creaky floors and a view of the park. It was our haven, a place where we could shut out the world and just be together. We were happy, or at least I thought we were. We had our arguments, of course, but we always managed to find our way back to each other, apologizing and making up with the fervor of people who couldn't imagine life apart. Then came the first big test of our relationship. I got a job offer in a city several hours away. It was a dream job, the kind of opportunity I couldn't pass up. He was supportive, insisting that we could make the long-distance thing work, and for a while, we did. We scheduled weekend visits, spent hours on the phone, sent each other little gifts and messages to bridge the distance. It wasn't easy, but we were determined. We were in love. But as the months wore on, the strain began to show. Our conversations became shorter, our visits less frequent. We were both busy with our new lives, and the miles between us seemed to stretch further with each passing day. I could feel him slipping away, and it terrified me. We decided to take a break, to give each other some space. It was supposed to be temporary, a way to reset and come back stronger. Instead, it felt like the beginning of the end. During our break, he started talking to Emily. I didn't know much about her, just that she was a colleague from his office. He mentioned her in passing, his tone casual, almost indifferent. I didn't think much of it at the time. We were on a break, after all. He was free to talk to whoever he wanted. It wasn't until we got back together in August that I began to realize how wrong I had been. He seemed different when we reunited. There was a distance in his eyes, a hesitation in his touch. He assured me that nothing had happened with Emily, that they were just friends, and I believed him. I wanted to believe him. But there were little things that didn't add up. The way he seemed almost resentful when he talked about her, the way he reacted when she started dating someone else. It was as if he was jealous, though he tried to hide it. I brushed it off as lingering feelings from our break, a natural reaction to seeing someone you care about moving on. Then he visited me. After months of long distance, we were finally in the same room again, and I was determined to make the most of it. But something felt off. There was a tension between us, a feeling that something was being left unsaid. It gnawed at me, and in a moment of weakness, I did something I never thought I'd do. I looked through his phone. What I found shattered me. There were messages between him and Emily, messages that told a story very different from the one he had told me. They had been talking for months, even after we got back together. They went out for lunch and dinner, shared inside jokes, confided in each other, and then there was that one message, the one that cut the deepest. He told her that he shouldn't be writing to her, that he would do everything they had done from May to March again, because she made him feel alive, that word. So full of meaning, so full of betrayal. I felt like I couldn't breathe, my chest tightened, my vision blurred with tears. I couldn't believe what I was reading. He had lied to me, manipulated me, made me believe that we were rebuilding our relationship when in reality, he was living a double life. He had strung both of us along, enjoying the attention and the drama, while I was left in the dark. I confronted him. The words tumbled out of me in a torrent of anger and pain. He didn't deny it. He couldn't. Instead, he looked at me with wide eyes, his face a mask of guilt and desperation. He became clingy, almost panicked, as if he could somehow erase the betrayal with his pleas and apologies. He told me he was sure he wanted to be with me, that he regretted everything. But his words felt hollow, like a song with no melody, just empty notes echoing in the void. He tried to explain, to justify his actions. He blamed the long distance, said he couldn't handle being apart from me, that he needed someone close. But those were just excuses, flimsy shields to protect himself from the reality of his actions. He admitted that he had gone to a therapist, trying to deal with the guilt, but even then, he couldn't bring himself to say the word cheating. He had hoped I would never find out, that he could bury the truth in the depths of his phone and move on as if nothing had happened. But I had found out, and now, I was left with the shattered pieces of my heart, trying to figure out how to put them back together. Part of me wanted to pretend like nothing had happened, to sweep it all under the rug and go back to the way things were. But I knew that was impossible. I couldn't unsee the messages, couldn't unhear his words. The trust that had once been the foundation of our relationship was gone, crumbled into dust. I thought about the last few years, the times we had laughed and cried together, the memories we had made. I thought about the future we had talked about, the plans we had dreamed of. And I realized that none of it mattered anymore. He had made his choice, and now I had to make mine. It wasn't easy. Letting go of someone you've loved for so long is like tearing out a piece of your own soul. But I knew that staying with him would only bring more pain. I couldn't keep giving him chances, hoping he would change, when he had already shown me who he really was. So, I made the decision to end it, to walk away from the man who had once been my everything, and to start rebuilding my life without him. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but I knew it was the right thing. For my own sanity, for my own heart, I had to let go. As I sit here now, writing this, the pain is still raw, still fresh. But there's a part of me that feels a strange sense of relief. Like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I know I'll never forget him, or the love we once shared, but I also know that I deserve better. I deserve someone who will cherish me, who will be honest with me, who will love me without reservation or deceit. The days that followed our breakup were some of the hardest I've ever experienced. I felt like I was moving through a fog, disconnected from the world around me. Everything reminded me of him, the places we used to go, the songs we used to listen to, the little habits I had picked up from our time together. I cried more than I ever had in my life, each tear a small release of the pain that seemed to be consuming me from the inside. I threw myself into my work, trying to lose myself in the routine, but even that was a struggle. My concentration was shattered, my motivation sapped. I found myself staring at my computer screen for hours, unable to focus on the simplest tasks. My friends tried to help, taking me out, keeping me company, but I could see the pity in their eyes, the worry etched into their faces. They didn't know what to say, and honestly, neither did I. Nights were the worst. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind would wander back to him, to the way things used to be. I'd replay our conversations, our arguments, our happy moments, over and over, trying to make sense of it all. Sleep was elusive. And when it did come, it was filled with dreams of him, dreams that left me waking up in tears. Slowly, though, the days started to get a little easier. The fog began to lift, and I started to see glimpses of the life I could have without him. I began to find joy in the little things again: a good book, a walk in the park, a cup of coffee on a sunny morning. I reconnected with old friends, started new hobbies, focused on my own growth and happiness. It wasn't a straight path. There were still days when the pain would hit me like a wave, knocking me off my feet, but gradually, those days became fewer and further between. I started therapy, something I had always been hesitant about. I was nervous and sure of what to expect, but it turned out to be one of the best decisions I ever made. Talking to someone who could listen without judgment, who could help me navigate my feelings and give me the tools to heal, was incredibly freeing. I learned to understand my emotions, to process my pain, and to start forgiving myself for not seeing the signs sooner. I realized that it wasn't my fault, that I had done nothing wrong by trusting him, by believing in our love. With time, I began to rediscover who I was outside of our relationship. I had spent so long defining myself by us, by our love, that I had forgotten who I was on my own. I started to explore my own interests, my own passions, things that had been pushed aside during our time together. I took up painting, something I had always wanted to do but never found the time for. I started volunteering at a local shelter, finding fulfillment in helping others. I even joined a hiking group, something completely out of my comfort zone, but it turned out to be a wonderful way to meet new people and challenge myself. Months passed, and the pain began to fade, replaced by a sense of strength and resilience I hadn't known I possessed. I still thought about him sometimes, of course. There were moments when a memory would sneak up on me, catching me off guard, and I'd feel a pang of sadness, but those moments became less frequent, and when they did come, they were easier to handle. I no longer felt the sharp, unbearable pain I once did. Instead, there was a dull ache, a reminder of what I had lost, but also of how far I had come. Life moved on, as it always does. I threw myself into new experiences, determined to fill the void he had left with something positive. My work improved as I regained my focus, and I even got a promotion. My friends noticed the change in me. The way my laughter came easier, the way my smile no longer seemed forced. They said I was glowing, and in a way, I felt like I was. I had come out the other side of my heartbreak stronger, more confident, more aware of my own worth. One evening, I was sitting in my apartment, surrounded by the warmth of the setting sun filtering through the curtains. The golden light cast long shadows across the room, and for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. I was reading a book, one of those sprawling, epic novels that you can lose yourself in, when my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen and saw a message from an unknown number. My heart skipped a beat, a reflex born from too many late-night texts that had left me in tears. But when I opened it, I found it was a message from an old college friend, inviting me to a reunion. The reunion was being held at a small cafe downtown, a place that had been popular with students back in our college days. I hesitated, unsure if I wanted to dive back into the past. But I decided to go, hoping to reconnect with old friends and create some new memories. It was time to let go of the fear that had been holding me back, to embrace life fully again. The cafe was bustling when I arrived, filled with familiar faces and the hum of laughter and conversation. It was strange, seeing everyone again after so many years. We had all changed, grown older, but there was still that spark of youth, that shared history that bound us together. I spotted my friend across the room and made my way over, slipping easily into the warm, nostalgic embrace of old friendships. As the evening wore on, I found myself relaxing, enjoying the company and the memories. I laughed more than I had in a long time, shared stories and caught up on the lives we had all built since graduation. It was a balm for my soul, a reminder that there was still so much joy to be found in the world. Then, as the night was winding down, I saw him. He was standing by the bar, talking to someone I didn't recognize. My heart did a little flip, that old, familiar feeling of attraction mixed with a twinge of anxiety. He was someone I had known in passing during college, someone who had always seemed a bit out of reach. His name was Michael, and he was tall, with dark hair and an easy smile that could light up a room. We hadn't been close, just acquaintances who had shared a few classes and exchanged pleasantries at parties. But there had always been something about him, a quiet confidence that intrigued me. Seeing him now, I felt a strange sense of anticipation, as if something significant was about to happen. He caught my eye and smiled, that same easy, warm smile I remembered. He made his way over to me, weaving through the crowd with a casual grace. When he reached me, He greeted me with a hug, a gesture that felt both familiar and new. We started talking, catching up on the years that had passed since we last saw each other. It was easy, natural, like slipping into a favorite old sweater. We talked about our careers, our lives, the twists and turns that had brought us to this moment. He told me about his job in tech, his love of hiking, his recent travels. I found myself opening up to him, sharing my own journey, my heartbreak, and the ways I had rebuilt myself. He listened intently, his eyes never leaving mine, his expression thoughtful and kind. As the night wore on, we found ourselves drifting away from the group, towards a quiet corner of the cafe. It was there, away from the noise and the chatter, that our conversation took on a more personal tone. He asked me about my life, my hopes and dreams, and I found myself telling him things I hadn't shared with anyone else. There was a connection between us, a sense of understanding that felt profound and real. We exchanged numbers at the end of the night, promising to keep in touch. I walked home with a lightness in my step, a feeling of excitement that I hadn't felt in a long time. It was like a spark had been reignited within me, a reminder that there was still so much to look forward to, so much to experience and enjoy. Michael and I started seeing each other, slowly at first, tentatively exploring the boundaries of our new relationship. We went on hikes, shared dinners, spent long evenings talking about everything and nothing. There was no rush, no pressure. Just a gradual unfolding of something that felt real and beautiful. He was patient with me, understanding of my past, respectful of my need for space and time. He didn't push, didn't demand more than I was ready to give. He was simply there, steady and dependable, like a rock in a stormy sea. Our relationship blossomed in the most natural, effortless way. He made me laugh, made me feel valued and cherished. With him, there was no need for pretense, no fear of judgment. He accepted me for who I was, scars and all, and that acceptance allowed me to heal in ways I hadn't thought possible. One evening, as we were sitting on a park bench watching the sunset, he took my hand and looked at me with an intensity that made my heart skip a beat. "I've fallen for you," he said softly, his voice filled with sincerity. "I don't want to rush you, but I need you to know that I'm here for the long haul, that I want to be with you, truly be with you." Tears filled my eyes, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming rush of emotions his words stirred within me. I squeezed his hand, finding my voice. "I've fallen for you too," I whispered. "I'm scared, but I want this. I want us." And just like that, my world shifted. The pain of my past was still there, but it was overshadowed by the hope and joy of the present. With Michael, I had found a love that was pure and honest. A love that lifted me up and made me believe in the possibility of a future filled with happiness. We moved in together a few months later, finding a place that felt like home from the moment we stepped inside. It was a small apartment, filled with light and laughter, a place where we could build our lives together. We spent lazy weekends cooking breakfast, exploring the city, planning our next adventure. It was the kind of life I had always dreamed of, a life built on trust and mutual respect. One day, as we were sitting on our balcony, sipping coffee and watching the world go by, he turned to me with a serious expression. "I've been thinking," he said slowly, "about our future. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want us to build a family, to grow old together. What do you think?" My heart swelled with love and gratitude. "I think I'd like that," I said, smiling through my tears. "I'd like that very much." And so, we began to plan our future. We talked about our dreams, our hopes, our plans for the years to come. We decided to travel more, to explore the world together before settling down. We started saving for a house, a place where we could put down roots and create a home filled with love and laughter. As the years passed, we faced challenges, of course. Life is never without its trials. But we faced them together, hand in hand, always supporting each other, always finding strength in our love. We celebrated our victories, comforted each other in our losses, and grew closer with each passing day. Looking back now, I realized that the pain of my past was a necessary part of my journey. It taught me to value myself, to understand my worth, to recognize what I truly deserved in a relationship. It led me to Michael, to a love that was everything I had ever hoped for and more. Sitting here now, in our cozy home filled with memories and dreams, I am grateful for every twist and turn that brought me to this moment. I am grateful for the love we share, for the life we are building together, for the promise of a future filled with joy and adventure. The scars of my past are still there, faint reminders of the pain I once endured, but they are no longer a source of sorrow. They are a testament to my strength, to my resilience, to my ability to heal and grow. They are a part of me, just as much as my laughter, my hopes, my dreams. And as I look into Michael's eyes, filled with love and trust, I know that I am exactly where I am meant to be. I am living my story, a story of heartbreak and healing, of loss and love, of pain and joy. It is my story, and it is beautiful in its own way. I will always carry the lessons of my past with me, but they will no longer define me. I am defined by the love I have found, by the happiness I am creating, by the person I have become. And I am excited to see what the future holds, to write the next chapters of my life with the man I love by my side. Together, we will face whatever comes our way, with hearts open and hands entwined. We will build a life that is filled with laughter and love, a life that is uniquely ours. And I know, deep in my heart, that I am finally home,